Venezuelan government rejects measures by the United States administration and extreme right wing. In Myanmar, an earthquake of magnitude 7.7 on the Richter scale shocked the center of the country, leaving at least 153 people dead and severe damage to infrastructure. And for the first time since the ceasefire agreement of November 2024, the Israeli occupation forces launched attacks on the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. President Nicolás Maduro rejected the unilateral coercive measures imposed by the Trump administration against the Venezuelan productive system, condemning that these actions were required by the Venezuelan extreme right wing.
In its opportunity, the criminal economic sanctions condemned by the entire Venezuelan public opinion were carefully requested by a few unspeakable individuals, who have pretended and believed that by causing economic harm, and consequently causing social harm to their country, our country which belongs to all Venezuelans, they are going to have a bed of roses to reach political power in Venezuela and become the saviors in some cases of national history. Since the history we have lived through has shown that it is a crime against an entire country, against an entire society to have requested or supported sanctions against the economy and the healthy functioning of the national productive mechanism.
The first conference of the Bolivarian Alliance ministers and high authorities of transportation for the peoples of our American Straight Trade Agreement took place in Caracas, the capital city. The Executive Secretary of the Alliance, Jorge Arriaza, welcomed the guest ministers from various countries. In addition, he explained that the purpose of these meetings is to strengthen ties among ABA member nations in order to advance the region's economy and transportation sector. Transport Minister Ramon Velázquez stated that the advancements of the transport infrastructure in each of the nations that includes this treaty is a very important task for transport officials. Science and Technology Minister of Venezuela, Gabriela Jimenez, ensured that the proposal of President Nicolás Maduro aimed at building up the future of the people of the Global South.
President Nicolás Maduro's proposal for ALBA is a plan to build up the future. It is a proposal that has been accepted by each of the member presidents of the alliance. What's its will? The proposal's will is to train our new young scientists, who do not have to travel to the old world, to the universities of the old world, to other hegemonic and dominant educational models, so that from our spaces they obtain the capabilities by means of our culture and our intercultural dialogue.
In a phone call with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro emphasized the significance of the UN system taking a firm stance to protect the rights of the Venezuelan migrants. Through a communique, Venezuelan Foreign Minister Iván Gil emphasized that the purpose of this request is to secure the immediate and unconditional release of the 238 compatriots unjustly detained in the concentration camps in El Salvador, where they have been imprisoned without any judicial process and deprived of their rights to defense. In this sense, Cuba also rejects Washington's threats against Venezuelan sovereignty to satisfy its own interests. Through social networks, the Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez highlighted the United States UN Secretary threat against the Venezuelan endangered the peace, security, and stability of Latin America and the Caribbean. We are well aware of his ability to lead and promote the use of force to advance in his interests. Venezuela rejects Chile's move to take before the ICC a case that has long been resolved in order to attack the sovereignty of Venezuela and please U.S. agendas. In this context, the Venezuelan Foreign Ministry published the following statements on its social media. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela categorically rejected the absurd farce that the government of Chile intends to stage before the International Criminal Court based on lies and falsehoods that only exists in the imagination of those who have decided to turn foreign policies into a showy spectacle, following the anti-Venezuelan policy line of the late Sebastián Piñera in the best Pinochetist style of creating false flag operations. Attempting to take an isolated case FIBA lies to the ICC is not only legally untenable, but also reveals a complete ignorance of how the international system and the Rome Statute works. The ICC is not a court that airs the fanciful fables of immature political intriguers, nor a stage for media instance. It is clear that Chilean authorities have no idea of how these mechanisms operate, or worse still, that they are simply willing to distort them in order to align themselves with interests aligned to justice. This position not only lacks a legal basis, but is also sustained by vicious hatred against Venezuela, demonstrating the desperation to place agendas that come from the U.S. that seeks to erode the sovereignty of a state. Chile, instead of leading itself to shameful maneuvers, should focus on its own serious internal issues, including the systematic violations of the human rights of the Mapuche people and the repression of the social protests. Venezuela is a country that can give lessons about respect for human rights and the dignity of peoples. We will not accept attacks from those who have made from institutional violence an everyday practice and who are now trying to divert attention from their own serious with clumsy political maneuvers. We are a civil act at the Colorado Party House, and the participation of 4 presidents Uruguay celebrates the 40th anniversary of the return of democracy to the country. The event was attended by the current president of Uruguay, Yamandu Orsion, former president Julio María Sanguinetti, José Mujica, and Luis Alberto Lacalle Herrera, who debated for more than an hour, while former president Luis Lacalle Pou also sent a video with statements. Let's take a very short break, but remember you can join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Myanmar declared a state of emergency in regions affected by the 7.7 magnitude earthquake that shocks the center of the country and so far left more than 150 people dead and severe damage to the infrastructure. The turmoil was recorded at 12:50 p.m. local time at a depth of 10 kilometers, and the epicenter was located about 17 kilometers from Mandalia, the second largest city in the Asian country with 1.2 million inhabitants. The first images published by the country's media show collapsed buildings, temples, and structures. Meanwhile, the earthquake also hit Thailand, where residential buildings and offices were evacuated. Public broadcaster Thai PBS reported the collapse of a 30-story building under construction in the capital, which housed around 50 people, 7 of whom managed to escape, while the rest were trapped. According to the latest information, at least 8 people have been found dead at the scene. The Indian government offered humanitarian aid to Myanmar and Thailand after the 7+ magnitude earthquake hit both nations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended his support to the government of Myanmar and Thailand to respond to the emergency arising from natural disaster. The Prime Minister also requests to monitor the situation and to maintain contact through the Foreign Ministry. Modi instructed the local authorities to remain alert in cases of possible aftershocks. After the 7.7 magnitude earthquake in northern Myanmar, Chinese authorities activated an emergency alert. Authorities report that the earthquake occurred approximately 294 kilometers from the Chinese border, 776 kilometers from the city of Kunming, capital of Yunnan province. They also point out that the earthquake had a 6.4 magnitude aftershock. South Korean authorities have contained the main blast in the country's largest forest fire on record, as rains and better weather allow more helicopters to fly and dump water dumps in the flames. The Ministry of the Korean Forest Service reported that the main fires in 5 regions were under control by 5 p.m. local time, spread by strong winds in bone dry conditions. The wildfires killed at least 28 people and destroyed more than 45,000 hectares in the southern region. Ecuadorian presidential candidate for the Citizens Revolution Party, Luisa Gonzalez, urged the indigenous communities to be united by the time of her visit to their cities. Gonzalez has complied with her set campaign agenda to disclose her government proposal nationwide ahead of the elections on April 13. Earlier on Thursday, the leftist leader stopped in Pujili City, where she highlighted that she will respect and defend consulting indigenous people in case of any oil and mining projects in the future. Meanwhile, President Daniel Noboa traveled to the United States, leaving his nation in the environmental emergency caused by the oil spill in Esmeralda province, where the government had not found a solution to the crisis triggered by the lack of water due to the polluted rivers. Noboa's visit to Miami occurred while the campaign for the presidential runoff was underway. In the capital city of Peru, residents staged a protest to demand that the Boluarte government take actions against the wave of violence and insecurity that sweeping the nation. In order to combat the exploitation and murders that take place in Peru on a daily basis, activists urged Dina Boluarte to enact immediate reforms. Meanwhile, because of the excessive rise in violence, Peruvian authorities declared a state of emergency in Lima and the Callao province. In this regard, the unchecked expansion of these facts illustrates how ineffective the officials are in crimes in the country. Let's take a last break, but before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. We're going on a short break, don't go away. Welcome back. For the first time since the ceasefire agreement of November 2024, the Israeli occupation forces launched attacks on the Lebanese capital, Beirut. The Zionist regime attacked the Lebanese city in retaliation for 2 alleged rockets fired from Lebanese territory north of Tel Aviv. Israeli authorities describe the alleged attacks as a flagrant violation of the agreements between Israel and Lebanon and a direct threat to the Israeli people. At the same time, the Israeli army announced that its troops have begun to mobilize in southern Lebanon in order to neutralize the movements of the Lebanese resistance movement, Hamas. The Lebanese government urged the international community to exert more pressure on the Israeli regime to stop its aggressions toward the southern border towns. The Prime Minister Nawaf Salam issued a statement to request the Lebanese army to open the necessary investigations to hold those responsible for the attack on the southern border. In addition, the authority noted that military forces will resume their operations to prevent the spread of violence in the region. The Israeli occupation forces had mounted nighttime attacks on the Gaza Strip, which killed at least 14 Palestinians. Outlets informed that Israeli warplanes had dropped bombs in Gaza, Rafah, and Khan Yunis cities. They further report a Zionist strike on the city down, which left 8 civilians casualties, including a baby who had been rescued from the house's rubble. Meanwhile, Israeli shellings on eastern Khan Yunis injured 2 civilians, including a child. Official resources registered some 855 deaths and almost 1,800 injured as a result of both the broken ceasefire deal by Israel on March 18 and the resumption of the genocidal Israeli offensive against the Gaza Strip. The United Nations warned that M23 rebels have threatened to expand their routes to Shupoda and Maniema provinces in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. On the United Nations Security Council meeting, the head of the UN Stabilization Mission in the DRC, Bintou Keita, stressed that M23 rebels, after having occupied North and South Kivu with support of Rwanda, were advancing towards Walikale. Therefore, the entity ensured that M23 was threatening and endangering the rest of the neighboring territories. And the world commemorates the Al-Aqsa Day declared in 1979 in solidarity with the Palestinian resistance and struggle against all forms of oppression. Under the slogan, faithful to commitment of Jerusalem, citizens in Iran, India, and Yemen mobilized to reaffirm their commitment and historical loyalty to the Palestinian people, and to make it visible the struggle for the recognition of the sovereign states of Palestine, in addition to rejecting the recent escalation of violence in continuation of the Israeli genocide against the Gaza Strip in the occupied territories of the West Bank. In this context, close to 75,000 worshippers gathered to pray on the last Friday of Ramadan at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. The prayer took place in the midst of growing tensions due to recent Israeli military offensive in the Gaza Strip and military escalation in Lebanon. In the Ramadan Day, the Israeli regime banned entry to Jerusalem to Palestinian men and women aged over the age of 50. I have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook and X and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English, I'm from the South. I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.